how do we talk about women's midlife issues? And how do we tell the message that no one has to struggle alone? We are here today with a very important person. Her name is Karen Tan, and she has her own podcast and she talks a lot about menopause. And we'll get to that in a minute. But first, some of the stories that are on the Star Online and the Star is the government will end the subsidies on eggs on August 1st, but it's still a costly product for a lot of people. And 13 people were nabbed for fake engine oil production. And Putra Heights victims whose homes were destroyed but suffered less than 40% damages, under 30,000 ringgit, can submit their claims to the Subang Jaya City Council. Let's get to our host today. Karen, welcome.
Hi, Aida.
Karen Tan. I'm so glad to have you on our podcast today. And yes, we will talk about women's midlife issues, menopause, which is a subject that is not often addressed.
Yeah.
More so in the Asian context, am I right?
Correct, definitely.
Please tell our listeners about yourself.
Well, I'm Karen, and I'm a menopause advocate as well as a coach. My role is to I want to bring awareness to women out there, whether they are in their 30s or 40s or even, as they call it, post-menopause, that you start taking care of yourself as early as possible, because with today's medication and advanced improvement in healthcare and all those things, we have a lot more studies and we understand our body better, and that your quality of life can be improved vastly just by doing little tweaks in your lifestyle and diet.
Karen, you talk about other things that involves women's midlife issues. I don't want to say crisis.
No crisis.
Women's midlife issues,
Right.
menopause, from the mental health perspective to burnout to family dynamics and redefining the purpose in midlife, right? Which is very important.
Right.
Please tell us about that.
Well, the thing is, generally, the definition of menopause, in general, we hit that around 45 to 55, which also happens to be kind of where our career is at a peak or getting there. You're dealing with children, you're dealing with elderly parents. So definitely there's a form of burnout. And we live in a very highly pressurized society, which means women have so much to prove, and we have to perform 10 times better than men. We have to be smarter than in everything that we do to make sure that we succeed. That alone is intense pressure. And then when you have your biological changes that's happening inside you, and it affects, because whether you like it or not, when that hormonal imbalance comes in, it does affect women in terms of their panic, anxiety, and of course the physical appearance starts to change. But it's not just about that, the physical changes that happens. It's actually what happens inside. And my biggest concern is the mental health, especially for women going through this.
That's very true. That's very true. What led you to become a menopause advocate, Karen?
Okay. So it's very personal, Aida. When I was going through it, actually I started as early as 37. I already showed signs of it. But again, because those days we don't know much about it. So I spent a lot of money going through x-rays, MRIs, blah, 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 to get all these tests, but nothing definite came out of it. So I chugged along, going through all this, I call it really a roller coaster, the high highs, the low lows. And then when I actually went into a full-scale surgical menopause, and again, the doctors, bless them, they're very good, but they don't tell you what to expect. They don't tell you the emotional impact of it. So I went into within months, a lot of inflammation, hair loss, dry skin, but really went into very deep depression, that suicidal thoughts were not far from it.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And I'm only blessed because my family was there for me. Relationships were very, very strained
Yeah.
because very irritable and it's unexplained. There's no reason
sure.
why I was behaving that way. Yet they stood by me, and I was able to kind of get myself out of it. And I truly believe in this cause, and I think I've seen too many women already reaching out to get help.
Would you mind sharing what you just mentioned about what surgical menopause? What does that mean?
So when you do a hysterectomy,
Right.
so they remove all your reproductive organ, which means then your hormone starts to deplete really fast.
Yeah.
And so it is even stronger in terms of the depletion. And so your body have really very little time to adjust. Unlike for men, when they go through their version of menopause, which is andropause, they actually, the depletion is more gentle, and they're able to withstand that a lot better than women. So that fluctuation is the one that causes a lot of physical and mental stress to us.
So we have read in online blogs, women talking about it.
Correct.
YouTube videos, a lot of women talk about it. However, these women are mostly Caucasians. So in the Asian context, like we said earlier, it's still relatively new.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's not enough studies based on Asian women, because a lot of the scientific studies were always based on men to start with, and only in the 1990s they started looking at women's health, and even that was based on Caucasian women. So again, where we are from, our DNA, genetics really plays a role to it as well.
There must have been some pivotal moments in your life related to menopause awareness. Is that right? I'm sure whatever you've dealt with, it proved to be a catalyst for you to start telling people about it, telling women about it, and that they're not alone, and starting this cohesive engagement. Is that right?
Right. So I think during my journey, I was desperately searching for whether online or offline, a group, a community, and I realized I couldn't get any conversation going. So I ended up joining like the UK ones or US based Facebook groups and all. And then I said, why is that no conversation here in Malaysia? And I'm saying, surely we also have this problem. So instead of waiting for something to happen, I decided to make it happen.
Wonderful. So that's when you started your Women in Midlife Club community conversation, and you started a YouTube channel of your own, right? Tell us about that.
So Midlife Mojo is really a once a week program that I put out, and I want to show women that we live a much better life and longer life than our ancestors, and the choice is, do you want to live in pain? And because you go through anxiety or panic, a lot of women actually retreat. They stop being social. They stop all the fun things they used to do, and that's the start of a depressive state, right? And I want to show women that I met people who are I just met recently a 79-year-old who still plays basketball.
Wow.
I know, right? And she still learns, because I met her because we were in a conference retreat, and she was participating and living life to the fullest.
Wonderful.
And I think that's what we should do.
Yes, I agree. However, we have to realize that every woman goes through a different menopause journey.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To some women, it hits them really hard. To others, it's pretty much seamless.
Yes.
They just breeze through it. right?
Yeah.
How did menopause affect your life? I mean, from what you just described earlier about how you had to go through your hysterectomy, that must have been very challenging for you. So after you did it,
Right.
how did your journey begin, and how is it going?
So like I said, within months I could see the physical impact. So like things like I actually lost a lot of hair, and then I realized I'm someone who exercise every day, and then because of the inflammation and pain, you don't feel motivated, so you start staying at
Yeah.
home, right? And then women are all vain at some point, so
Yes, we are. I'll admit that
exactly, right?
I'm
So
vain.
so when you start looking at yourself and you say, oh my god, your skin is really dry, and then that becomes like no motivation to go out,
Right.
no motivation to interact with friends. And then, of course, something that I think we all neglect is the relationship with our spouse, because vaginal dryness is the real thing. It's very painful when you have any intimacy, and that's something that can affect a relationship. And so, how do you broach that conversation for your spouse to better understand and to get the support? Or even with your children, because you may be so irritable, you're shouting at them when they look at you strangely, and you go,
Yeah.
"What?" and how many times I've said mean things that I wonder why did it come out of my mouth, and I learned to have to apologize a lot after that, to say that I'm so sorry I said those nasty things. So yeah, relationships and how you can ask for the right help if you know what's going on, and if you know why it's happening, then you can get the right help, even with doctors and with your family, really.
Yeah. While not going into too much of the medical explanation, because you and I, neither of us are doctors to explain this, but the effects of menopause
Right.
on women is because of the depletion of our vital hormones,
Correct.
which are estrogen and progesterone.
Right, and testosterone as well.
And testosterone as well, yeah. So different parts of our body have estrogen receptors.
Receptors, yeah.
And when these receptors are depleted of the hormones, that's when, that's the start of menopause and all these side effects.
Exactly.
The moodiness and
irritation,
whatever you just described
Yeah,
happens, right?
Correct.
Why do you think, let's talk about breaking the silence. Why do you think menopause is still a taboo and misunderstood topic, especially in the Asian culture?
I truly believe it's because first, women are kind of in denial about this.
Right,
So
I see.
they don't, their belief system is based on what they experience with their moms and aunts. So they kind of resign that, oh, this is part of aging, and how wrong that is, because it's not a disease. Let me be clear about this. It's not a disease, and you can get this as early as 30s. So it's not only for old people who gets this. But if it's like, how years ago there was no maternity leave and things
Yeah.
like that, and then people start to realize, hey, women just have childbirth, and so same thing. I think companies can start recognizing and respect the women who are still very functional, still able to contribute to society, but understand that there is this phase. And when you have this phase, maybe allow them a little bit of grace in terms of work conditions. Because, for companies to realize some women actually have severe headaches,
Yeah.
severe vertigo,
Different symptoms for different women. Yeah.
or maybe it's so hot that they are sweating nonstop. So understanding that maybe that uniform may not fit that person, because if you're wearing coats and jackets the whole day, it may not be suitable for that person. So just having that conversation, and I think companies will actually have better quality staff as well, women who still can contribute, because you're talking about women who maybe have 20, 30 years under their belt at this point. So how much they can contribute to the company, and a lot of women can do with that support if a boss can say, okay, I'm going to give you some grace, and so that you can get over this.
Yeah, this is the subtopic of women and workplace advocacy, right? Because if we compare us women who live in cities, the demands of city life is very different compared with women living in the rural areas, in the villages, because the saying, it takes a village.
Yes.
Probably women living in the villages, they have their circle.
Yeah,
They have their own support system.
Yeah.
But for us women in the city now, with the loneliness problem, we tend to retreat. So for a lot of us, we don't have that circle. So it can be difficult to learn how to build trust, and not feel scared in thinking, if I tell this person my problems, will this person judge me? I wonder if this friend of mine is going through the same thing as I am.
Right.
And if they're not, how come? Am I in this alone?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that you say that, because that's the reason I created the community, is because sometimes your spouse may not understand, or even your best friend may not understand, because maybe she's not going through the same thing as you.
Yeah.
And so you start keeping quiet, and you're not questioning what's happening. So I have so many women who has connected with me and say, I feel like I'm alone in this, or they actually say, am I going crazy? Is it what's going on? And when I have that, I just have to have one session with them and just say, this is normal. And suddenly you can see, like, the eyes start to open up.
They light up.
Yeah. And then they go, oh, I didn't know. And oh, now I know what's going on. So that's what I want to do, so that people don't feel shy about, hey, I am feeling down, and what's happening, you know? And it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
I think women are too, especially when you say urban women, we have to come out to be so strong,
guarded,
so professional, right?
Yep, that's true.
We can't let our guard down and ask for help. It's so difficult for us to ask for help.
It is. And as we approach our midlife and approach menopause, the other issue is the other side effect is, of course, weight gain.
Yes.
And it's difficult to go through that as women, right?
Yeah, it's like when you say you look at a cake and you're not even eating it, you already put on weight, right?
Correct. You're absolutely right, because I went through that struggle. Actually, I stand corrected. I'm still going through that struggle.
Right.
I'm in my late 40s.
Right.
And I will get to that menopausal stage soon. Very soon, of course. However, the whole weight gain problem, it's a sensitive topic, right? And it's a painful thing to go through. Correct. Because, like you said, we can just look at a cake, we just breathe, and we feel, have I eaten? No.
Exactly.
Have I eaten the cake?
I haven't.
Yeah, even if it's like just tasting a crumb or a sliver makes us feel that we've committed this
sinful thing. Yeah.
It's hard. It's difficult, as we get to that stage, and the pounds just pile on.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because you think, okay, I'm going to hit the gym for 2 hours today, but that doesn't shift your weight at all still.
It doesn't, because there are other contributing factors like genetics.
Yeah, genetics, but of course, again, hormone starts to deplete.
Yep.
So your metabolic rate starts to, you need to boost it up
Correct.
again. So so eating the right food can help for sure. But the main thing is, you know that this is a depletion. Therefore, you need to go and get the right help and ask for the right.
Correct.
No.
Knowing there is this depletion
Correct.
issue,
Yeah.
that's when you can seek help and do the things that will
Yeah.
keep the weight gain at bay.
Correct.
There are women who are unaware and, like you mentioned earlier, are in denial.
Yep.
So the thing about weight gain is just it will continue if you don't do anything about it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we all know with weight gain, other diseases comes in.
Correct.
Diabetes and heart.
Cardiovascular health, yeah,
exactly,
everything else. Yeah, it's just a avalanche, I
Yes.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as a single woman, I can empathize with women like yourself who have families to take care, your spouse, your children,
Yeah.
and your hands are on different burners, multitasking.
Right.
That's a different ballgame altogether.
It is,
Yeah.
for sure. But I think that's where I think we need to have those conversations.
Correct.
And starting with the closest, your nuclear family, and just say, hey, I think I'm going through this. Getting it out there so that your children can help out at home, or maybe less irritating to you, or
Yeah.
maybe your husband can help with laundry or whatever. That alone can make or break any relationship. And even telling your good friend is that I think I'm going through this, so that if you have that blast or volcano eruption in front of your best friend, at least she understands and say, okay, let's take a moment and breathe.
Yeah. I think that's very important.
Correct.
I think that boils down to building the right support systems.
Yes, exactly.
Within our community. And even if you live alone, there are people you can reach out to. For example, yourself, now that you have the Women in Midlife Club,
Yeah.
which people can check out on YouTube.
Correct.
What's it called? Midlife Mojo.
Midlife Mojo. And the idea is sometimes it's easier to reach out to someone you don't know
That's
than
right.
someone you know. And that's where us as a community, we keep supporting. So we will not judge. We don't know you personally, so we won't be able to attack you per se. It's like
That's
that's
right.
not the idea.
Yeah.
It's just saying, hey, I hear you. I know you're going through, and you're not alone. You're not alone. And so finding that is it's such a peace of mind, because then you know that, hey, whatever I'm feeling, I can reach out and get the information that I need.
When you went through your hysterectomy, Karen, would you mind telling us how did you navigate your healing through medicine and alternative therapy, if you did so?
Right. So HRT, hormone replacement therapy, is very, very useful, and it is not as bad as some people think of it as.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, when it started to flood the market,
Right.
HRT,
Yeah.
there were talks about it could exacerbate cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of studies that's debunking that, actually.
Right. I think with medical advancements now,
Correct, yeah.
people are there's a lot of news about HRT and how it does help a lot of
yeah,
women.
for sure.
Yeah, and there are women who don't go on it for
Yeah.
their own reasons
Yeah.
after they've
Correct.
sought advice from their respective doctors.
So HRT is a very good option if that is what you prefer.
Right.
And it does work quite effectively and very fast. But like everything else, anything in world there's a pros, there's cons. So like there's some women also felt that it didn't work for them. So we have to understand it's not a one miracle pill for everybody. That doesn't work. but there's also things that can help with, like for myself, I cannot take HRT.
I see.
Yeah, because there are certain cases where hormone-induced diseases will be escalated if I do. So I chose not to, and I wanted to go a very natural route. So I went and searched for things that in terms of food, in terms of my lifestyle, just changing those little things and incorporating healthy, stress-free behaviors that will help, because stress is a huge portion of what we
It is.
yeah.
It is. And it comes in different ways,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But stress-free, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Well, little stress is always good,
Yes.
right? But it's just that, like there were times when I was so stressed that I would break up in hives, right? Or my eyes would get swollen or that kind of thing. And just knowing that, okay, you got trigger points, knowing how to bring those stress level down, staying grounded. So, people think of self-care as a selfish behavior, especially high-functioning women. And I'm saying to those who are listening is that find time to even have a cup of tea and read a book for half an hour is not difficult. It's not indulgent, it's necessity.
It is a necessity, considering how social media now just takes away our attention, just
Yeah.
shortens our attention span tremendously,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And because women are more known to multitask, I speak for myself here. Getting focused on doing one thing sometimes is nearly impossible.
Exactly, because we are like doing it like 5-6 things at one go.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your tips, Karen, for friends, partners, and co-workers to support each other or support someone going through menopause?
Oh, very, very easy. Just be there. Just listen. I found that through my years as a coach, sometimes women reach out, they don't even need advice. They just need someone to be
listen.
empathetic and
Yeah.
listen. And then someone to just hug them and say, everything will be fine. Yeah.
Sounds simple enough, but it's not.
Is that human connection, and I do believe COVID did a number to a lot of people.
That's true.
So we become very isolated, introvert, and we think everything is only from your phone.
Yeah.
And sometimes all you need is someone to hold your hand and say everything will be fine, and that shifts a lot. But we've got to help ourselves too. We also have to make that little effort because I urge women not to allow that depression to get so bad that you drop into this deep dark well that climb up becomes really hard. So if you feel you're at the edge, seek help, get the right information, and pull yourself out quickly.
Yeah,
Because
don't
if it's-
suffer alone.
Yeah. Please, ladies, you don't get an award for suffering. You don't.
That's right. That's right. There are people out there to help.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you can't reach out to a family member, reach out to a mental health professional.
Exactly.
Or there are a lot of support groups out there on social media
Yeah.
and on your channel.
Yeah, they just have to reach out to our community, and whatever it may be. If it's I will schedule. If I feel there's a need, then I'll schedule a call immediately and get the right help or recommend something. But I feel 80% of the time is just someone to listen, and
Yeah.
that can resolve a lot of things.
In terms of the future of menopause advocacy, what are your hopes for maybe conversations about menopause to further evolve?
I would really like to see more men involved, because I think whether it's your partner or friend, a male support can help a woman get through this easier. and vice versa, right? So that's something I hope that men will not just discount things, because I hear too often some husbands telling their wife, oh, you're making this up, or why are you behaving like this, which is very sad because they need that support.
Yeah.
So that's one. I really hope that I can, you know, create enough awareness for husbands and partners to step up.
That's great. Thank you, Karen, for being on our podcast.
Thank you.
This week is a privilege to have you on, and I definitely look forward to watching your Women in Midlife Club evolve.
Oh, yes.
Midlife Mojo
Midlife
on
Mojo.
YouTube. I'm sure you are doing a lot of justice to women out there who need a person like you,
Thank you.
a woman like you, to guide them, virtually hold their hand if you can't meet them in
Exactly.
person.
As best as I can, right?
Virtually hold their hand while going through this life-changing journey.
And I promise you, women, it will be a really beautiful second spring if you let me help you through it.
Second spring, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Aida.
Be sure to watch our episode on YouTube and Star TV and Star Online, www.star/metro.